common staple food for Nigerians and one common feature at most Nigerian eateries. Now, for many years, Nigeria was one of the largest importers of rice in the world. It was estimated that Nigeria's rice importation constituted about 365 billion naira, or 1/5 of the total annual food import bill.
Well, that's right, Blessing. From what you just indicated, indeed, the official figures stated that the country was spending, on the average, 1 billion naira every day on importation of rice, and this had gone on for many years.
This development did not go down well with the federal government, as it demonstrated its determination to change the trend.
Well, seeking to build on previous efforts, President Muhammadu Buhari addressed a business meeting, and this was in June 2016, wherein he announced that his administration will strive to ensure that Nigeria attains self-sufficiency in rice production.
Now, to this end, the federal government initiated various programs such as the Anchor Barrel scheme and also set up a presidential committee to achieve its targets.
Now, about a year and a half later, the rice revolution, as it were, has started yielding positive results with an increase in annual rice production in the country.
Now, according to Rice Farmers Association of Nigeria, the statistics are showing that rice production in the nation stands at 6.5 metric tons per annum, as against 5.5 metric tons in 2005, while the rate of importation has also dropped. That's 2015, I beg your pardon. And also, the importation has also dropped by 1 billion naira, as against hundreds of billions of naira previously.
All right, now we all recall President Muhammadu Buhari delivered his New Year message to Nigerians. And in that broadcast, he did say, rice imports will stop this year. Local rice, fresher and more nutritious, will now be on our dishes henceforth.
Consider this attests to the government's determination to ensure self-sufficiency in rice production, especially now that more states have keyed into the Anchor Barrel program, and with more Nigerians involved in rice farming at a different value chain level.
So, what are the factors that are spinning, as it were, the revolution that we are seeing in rice production across the value chain, and what should be done to sustain the momentum? And in particular, at the time we attain self-sufficiency, can we begin to make projections as to when exports of Nigerian rice to elsewhere in the world, particularly West Africa, would commence?
Questions, Kingsley, questions. Well, these are questions begging for answers, and we hope to get them from our guests as they join us at the time of discussion on today's edition of the program, Good Morning Nigeria. This program is reaching you live on the network service of the Nigerian Television Authority, NTA. My name is Blessing Abu. Welcome.
And I'm Kingsley Osadola. I also join Blessing in welcoming you to this edition of the program, in the course of which we shall bring you our regular complimentary segments, including newspaper review, business, sports, foreign and entertainment. And we are kicking off right now with the morning highlights in terms of the news. And here is our guide, Bintu Aliyu Sumono. Hi, Bintu.
Good morning, Kingsley. Good morning, Nigeria, and welcome to the news segment. Developing the steel sector dominated deliberations at the Federal Executive Council meeting. Minister of Mines and Steel Development, Kaide Fayemi, who briefed State House correspondents at the end of the meeting, said efforts are being intensified to resuscitate the 110 megawatt power generating plant at the Ajaokuta Steel Company.
Regaining its pride of place, but there's still a lot of challenges because resources are finite. We are looking at creative ways of making additional resources available via a mining bond for the sector that will be private sector driven. And also we've raised about $150 million from the World Bank to support companies specifically in the sector that have undertaken exploration work but are finding it difficult to transition from exploration to production.
The national chairman of the All Progressive Congress, APC, John Odigi Oyegun, says commendations of the party's committee Recommendations of the party's Committee on True Federalism represent the interest of Nigerians. At the public presentation of the committee's reports, participants commended the APC for taking a bold step in adding value to the nation's democracy.
These are essential ingredients of true federalism. That each state, each federating unit should be allowed to develop in its own way, at its own pace, and with the economic realities.
To make this work, extant laws such as Petroleum Act, Nigerian Mining and Mineral Act, the Land Use Act, and the Petroleum Profit Tax Act will be amended.
Senators began Wednesday plenary with the recall of incidents of killings in some parts of the country, with Senate President Bukola Saraki reading an executive communication from President Muhammadu Buhari.
On Tuesday, the 9th of January, I had a long session with Governor Otom of Benue State, during which I informed him of police arrest of some suspects with Kalashnikovs. In addition, I told him that I had instructed the IGP to speed up trial and prosecution of the suspects and give wide publicity to the police efforts.
The Federal Character Commission is basically established to promote fairness and equity in the distribution of public posts among the federating units. But the act establishing the commission did not address some salient issues, such as indigenship of a woman when she gets married. To address this, members of the House of Representatives have commenced the amendment of that act.
Only married women. If you are not married, you cannot enjoy the benefit of the amendment I'm seeking no to make.
The men are not restricted. It's only when it comes to the Nigerian woman that we begin to see all kinds of bottle holes.
And because there is no tribunal in place where these complaints can be taken to, sometimes some of these breaches are left unattended.
The component units that constitute the Nigerian nation state will have a sense of belonging.
The Director General, Nigerian Television Authority, NTA, Yakubu Ibn Muhammad, has advocated a robust information and media policy to curb sensational journalism. The DG stressed the need for a national communication policy in Nigeria, especially with the increasing global and national security threats to participants of the National Defense College.
We need a mass communication policy, codified, institutionalized, that will ensure responsible journalism, both from the print, electronic, and the social media. Once this is in place, and then for the regulators, the Nigerian Press Council, the National Broadcasting Commission, to be more stringent in their enforcement of rules and regulations.
Those of you that watch the NTA Good Morning Nigeria, I have personally observed the remarkable change on the positive side, on the quality, the maturity, and the relevance of the issues that are discussed on that platform.
The recent ruling of the Court of Appeal in favor of indigents of the Federal Capital Territory has been described as a step forward in their quest to be given a right of place in Nigeria's governance process. Lawyer and FCT original indigent Barrister Musa Panya noted this while speaking on NTA's current affairs program, Nigeria Today.
Our fathers and us voluntarily basically gave up our land for a national purpose. And it was a noble thing.
Raising issues along with another indigene of the territory, Rifkatu Adamu Chirawa, They emphasized the need for the FCT to be given a state status and made clarifications on indigenship despite the contemporary nature of the FCT.
We know that we are heading somewhere where we want to be treated just like they said. You could hear people's voice that let Abuja, be treated as a state where we will be able to have a ministerial slot.
Nigeria Today is broadcast live every weekday at 7:30 p.m. on NTA News 24. In talking petroleum, the Nigerian National Petroleum Corporation (NNPC) has issued motorists and other petroleum products consumers in Abuja and its environs not to engage in panic buying. A statement from Group General Manager, Group Public Affairs Division Ndu Ugamadu. The NNPC states that the corporation and other relevant government agencies are in consultation with the leadership of the Petroleum Tanker Drivers (PTD), a move that has led to the union's reconsideration of its threat to stop dispatches at some depots earlier yesterday. The members of the PTD had threatened to prevent loadings from the depot over portions of Mokwa Jabba Road, which they said are in bad state. But relevant government agencies have stepped in with a view to addressing the concerns of members of the union. The NNPC therefore warns marketers not to hold products, as law enforcement agencies working with industry regulators have been detailed to take appropriate measures against any defaulter. The corporation assures Nigerians that there are enough petroleum products to guarantee relief to petroleum products consumers. And that's it on the news segments. Good Morning Nigeria will continue with Blessing and Kingsley shortly.
If you just tuned in, the program is Good Morning Nigeria. Now let's take a look at some business reports as we join Vivian Idepefo.
It's good to have you join us on Business News at this time. The Minister of State for Industry, Trade and Investment, Aisha Abubakar, says Nigeria accounts for 57% of world shea nut production and as such should benefit from its production through wealth creation, poverty reduction and job generation. This was at an interactive session with members of the Global Share Alliance and other critical partners, where reclaiming Nigeria's place in the global market for shea was placed on the front burner.
By developing the large-scale production of shea butter in Nigeria, the country will be on the right path to diversifying its economy through strategic focus on the commodity exports and taking advantage of its comparative advantage.
This is the right time for Nigeria to take this rightful position.
Nigeria will host the 11th Annual International Share Conference with the theme Going Further Together in March in Abuja. And the World Bank Group's support to fragile states, including Nigeria, through its International Development Association, IDA, has doubled to more than $14 billion. To advance sustainable development and other implementation of the 2030 Agenda, the bank's strategy is to invest more in people and pursue private sector solutions to maximize finance for development. The World Bank's strategy also includes accelerating inclusive and sustainable economic growth through distribution of diversified economic opportunities across sectors and fostering resilience to global shocks and threats. And now to the equities market, where investors traded 651 million shares Wednesday in 7,091 deals. The all-share index fell by 0.34% to close at 44,343.65 basis points. Next is a graphics summary of the closing figures. just before we go, the January transfer window has proved to be a time for huge spending by clubs in the English Premier League. Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang's £56 million move to Arsenal brings total spending at the time of this report to £344 million, the highest since the 2010-2011 season. And that concludes business news for now. Good Morning Nigeria continues.
Thank you very much, Vivian, for the business package on Good Morning Nigeria. Next for us, we go to the front pages of today's newspapers to check out the headlines.
Baya Toyibi is already seated. Welcome to today's edition of the program.
Morning,
Welcome, Baya.
Long time.
Real long time.
Good morning, Nigeria.
How long? All right, we have different stories on the front pages, but of course you have a common thread also amongst the headlines on at least on the three of the front page papers, front page stories that we have on the papers. Let's begin with. Blessing.
Okay.
Let's begin with
let's start off with the Punch. I have leading for the Punch newspapers on the Benue killings. Senate summons Inspector General over failure to arrest suspects. More details, pages 7, 8, and 20. But then there are 3 riders who were after killer herdsmen. Buhari tells Senate killings by herdsmen sign of security system. It's coming from Speaker Dogara. 7 killed in Boko. Governor Otom imposes curfew. The photograph, you have the 3-year-old people, 3 others killed in Ogun accident. Pages 4 and 5 will let you to more details. Now, at the foot of the page, federal government will prepare supplementary budget for wage increase. It's coming from, okay, you have that credited to Akabueze. More details on page 24. Ogun community raises the alarm over herdsmen invasion. And to page 34 is the story, still at the foot of the page. Senate to probe ex-JAMB registrars for poor remittance. And the Benue story is the lead for the Daily Sun this morning. Benue, Senate summons IGP and 2 riders as Buhari faults senators' position on killings, and lawmakers demand defense minister's resignation. More details on page 8. Similar stories?
All right, so the Benue story is also the lead for this day newspaper, and it comes with a double-decker headline. It's untrue. I have not acted on Benue killings, Buhari tells Senate. With 2 rider lists steps is taken to end conflict and improve security. And Otom imposes curfew on Boko after mob kills 7 herdsmen. That story begins on the front page and then jumps to page 10. Of course, there are other headlines, but let's take this one very quickly before we come to other headlines on the front page of this day.
Yes, the refutation came from Mr. President, and he was reacting to a resolution of the Senate of the Federal Republic of Nigeria that it is incorrect to infer that the killings in Benue have been left to fester. The President, in his response, listed a chronology of actions that were taken, the directives that have been given to the security agencies, as well as the armed suspects that have been arrested. And he said that in the same vein, the Senate today has directed its 2 committees to ask the Inspector General of Police in consonance with the 14-day ultimatum it gave to brief it about the actions that it has taken. Meanwhile, still along the Benue-Nasarawa border, troops of the Nigerian Army yesterday warded off attack by what has been described by armed militia along the borders of the 2 states. This happened in the place that they call Igacha village, 4 kilometers away from Kadarko. Kadarko was a place that came under attack within the week. The troops stopped their arson and apprehended some of the perpetrators. Meanwhile, a report has been submitted to the Honorable Minister of Agriculture and Rural Development. This is a 10-year roadmap covering 2017 to the year 2027 about livestock roadmap. This roadmap came from a conference that was held in October, and the conference identified 6 critical pillars that must hold to support the livestock. And these are, very quickly, access to land, formation and registration of livestock owners into cooperatives to access land, grazing land and feeds production to support ranches and colonies, and then a breed development program, and also fund as single-digit interest for farmers. And there also should be a development of livestock support for infrastructure. However, there's been some problem. The Honorable Minister for Agriculture said government is not seizing land of any Nigerian to give to herdsmen for them to colonize. But however, he said, if today government and citizens don't find a practical solution quickly, it could get worse over the years. And I stumbled on something on the internet, particularly when we talk about these arguments about ranches and colonies. A ranch is said to be a piece of land dedicated to raising livestock. In other words, it is restricted livestock in a specific location, and it is not new. As far back as 1942, it was said that the British colonialists had introduced it in Nigeria. And Amadou Bello also established a ranch in Mokwa. Chief Obafemi Awolowo established a ranch in Akondo. A lady, Iretola Ijoka, put up something on the social media. He says a ranch is a land dedicated for raising cattle, while a colony is simply many ranches in the same place. Therefore, a ranch is a small colony, and a colony is many ranches put together. But here we are today engaged in an argument about ranches and colony, and even some political prominent persons are saying we don't have colonies for foreigners in our country. This is becoming very political.
It's a contentious issue, because the definition you have given now is on the agricultural side. When others give a political definition, they will ask you, when you had a colony of Lagos, were you rearing livestock in Lagos as a colony of Lagos?
Colony in political context.
That's right.
There's a colony of bees, a colony of crocodiles.
That's right.
In fact, when it comes to baboons, they refer to them as assembly of baboons. But we have a national assembly.
No, not National Assembly of baboons.
We're talking about words. Words in themselves do not have a meaning, but what you associate with them.
That's right. That's right. And the context, some of those things are very significant. Bayo, thanks a lot. Let's take other headlines, as I indicated. Above the nameplate of this day newspaper, federal government blames constrained oil output for stagnant ECA. ECA stands for excess crude account, and says NNPC solely bears difference in landing cost of fuel. Now, in this story, if you read it in greater detail, because it continues on page 50, the Minister of Finance, briefing the State House reporters yesterday, indicated that technically there is no subsidy. What we now have is under recovery. So that's because NNPC is the sole importer of refined petroleum products. So from technical, no subsidy, to under recovery. Two other headlines from the front page of this day newspaper. NIA directors, NIA stands for the National Intelligence Agency, write House of Reps and say new DG is a misfit and threaten massive leaks to hostile countries. It's a serious one, Bayo. That's it. And then lastly, sack the cabal in your cabinet now. Sage tells president. That's on page 11.
Well, quickly, front page of the Daily Sun has some 2-3 other headlines. Just beside the photograph, we have encomiums for Ekweme at Commendation Service, market short in ex-VP's honor. Ochome Bok have taken on that. But just after that story, you have Coalition for Nigeria launched, unveils rescue agenda. More details on pages 6 and 10. Nigeria must be saved from explosion. It's coming from Oyinlola.
Yeah, Bayo, just before we take the editorial and then get your closing comments, there's a story, if you recall, the House of Assembly in Abia State purported to have suspended the substantive chief judge of the state. Now, there's a follow-up to that story. It's on page 11 of this day newspaper, and it says, NJC, that is the National Judicial Council, suspends Abia acting CJ, queries him for accepting illegal appointments, and recommends Ogwe as replacement. Of course, the CJ, the substantive CJ has been suspended by the NJC now, pending the outcome of investigations. And the subject matter we'll be discussing this morning is the editorial, also editorial topic for the Independent newspaper at page 6. the alert on massive rice smuggling. And it says the alert, of course, is coming from the National Security Advisor, who has alerted the Comptroller General of Customs on the discovery of no fewer than 20 shiploads of rice in Cotonou, that's in Benin Republic, with final destination believed to be in Nigeria. And they say that they have strong conviction that the Nigerian government should engage authorities of neighboring countries on bilateral measures that could further discourage the criminal activities of importers of rice as well as smugglers.
Oh, sure, actually.
Quickly, this issue of rice is very worrying in the sense that there is a deliberate policy of government to diversify from oil to agriculture and manufacturing. And one of the areas for which great impetus is made is the production of rice. And therefore, by record, it is estimated that by the end of this year, 2018, Nigeria could stop completely importing rice. Now, if people are still importing rice, it means it's a serious threat to the agriculture in the country. Presently, rice is produced massively in Kebbi, in Cross River, in Edo, in Nigeria, Kogi. In fact, states are competing with one another. And there are varieties of rice, Abakaliki rice, Ofada rice. Have you tasted the brown rice from Badeji area? Very sumptuous. Why must we import rice stored in silos over 10 years from Thailand or some other countries?
That's right. Bayo, that's the topic we are discussing today. We have guests already. Thanks a lot for your input. Unfortunately, we don't have enough time to take the other headline from this newspaper about some officials of the NIA threatening to leak sensitive documents to other countries. That would be a serious that would be a serious offense against the state.
That is the outcome of politicization of public service. Every public service is an institution. There's a system of hierarchy. When you bring people from outside, this is the kind of resistance you have internally.
Bayo Tebi, thank you for being here today.
Thank you for having me as always.
All right, so do enjoy the rest of your day. It's Good Morning Nigeria. We'll take a short break now. When we return, we'll be dealing with the issue of rice production in Nigeria and what is happening exactly.
If you just tuned in, the program is Good Morning Nigeria. Now is a prompt for our conversation, taking a look at rice production. The revolution is huge and they want to see how it's going. But let's have this recent background report with a recent increase in rice production. Nigeria has changed from being one of the largest importer of rice to one of the largest producer of the same commodity in the world. Correspondent Musa Babaliu now reports.
Statistics from the Federal Ministry of Agriculture indicate that Nigerian farmers under the Presidential Initiative on Rice and Wheat have produced over 17 million tons of rice in 2017. The production was less than 10 million tons before the Presidential Initiative, though the demand has been on the increase to the tune of about 7 million tons. It is also on records that rice farmers have realized an estimated 1.6 billion naira from the value of rice produced in 18 states.
We can no longer continue spending $5 million a day importing rice. We don't have the money. And today there are 12.2 million people growing rice. And more will grow the rice.
Basically, the idea here by Mr. President is to say that we need to use agriculture to catalyze youth employment.
The increase in rice production has attracted investors in the rice milling value chain. There are over 100 integrated rice milling industries in Nigeria with the capacity to process over 20 million tons of rice annually.
As part of our contribution to the economic identification of the federal government under agricultural development, we also intend, or we have concluded arrangement to also establish an additional rice mill of 20 tons per hour capacity, plus the existing 16 tons per hour capacity.
Currently, we have 150,000 metric tons annually capacity, and we are doing major expansion activity. It will give us 175,000 metric tons per annum.
The government is also to establish 40 small rice milling factories in all the rice-producing states in the country.
All right, thank you very much, Musa Babaliu, for that background report. Now we have three guests with us here in the Abuja studios to discuss further on what's played out in terms of rice production in the country. First, we'd like to welcome at this time the governor of Kebbi State, Alhaji Abubakar Atiku Bagudu, who is also the chairman of the Presidential Task Force on Rice and Wheat Production. Alhaji Bagudu, governor of Kebbi State, pleasure to have you join us.
Thank you. Good morning. Good morning.
Thank you. And then also here with us in the studios is the is the acting director of corporate communications of the central bank. That's Mr. Isaac Okorafor. Mr. Isaac Okorafor, a pleasure to have you join us on the program.
Thank you, Kinsley. I'm glad to be here.
Okay.
Also with us in the studio, of course, why will you discuss rice issue without a farmer? So the national president of Rice Farmers Association of Nigeria, or the body known as RIFAN, is here. Alhaji Aminu Goroyo. It's our pleasure to have you in the studio.
Good morning. Thank you.
Welcome to the program.
All right. So, gentlemen, a pleasure to have you again on the program. And let's begin, of course, by bringing in the chairman of the Presidential Task Force on Rice and Wheat Production. Mr. Governor, is there a revolution in rice production in Nigeria? If so, what is the manifest evidence?
Indeed, there is a revolution spurred by the President Muhammadu Buhari administration's foresight in trying to make us self-sufficient in a number of commodities, including rice and wheat. And ever since the plug of the central bank Anko Borrower scheme targeted at rice initially in November 2015, we have seen yields per hectare across the country going up astronomically from as little as 1 ton per hectare to an average now of 5-6 ton per hectare in many states, and with in fact outliers of 9 tons to 11 tons per hectares, which compares to yields that are recorded in countries from whom we used to import rice. So that is the most significant revolution, because agriculture is a science. Our farmers, supported by government policy, are embracing the proper ways of producing rice that is enabling us achieve yields that compare to the best in the world, and we are getting there already. We initially thought it will take us to 2019, but figures and sufficiency of paddy rice seems to indicate today that we are self-sufficient, because there's no miller in Nigeria that does not have 60–70% of his annual capacity at all times. So that is a first in Nigeria, where no miller, 2013, 2014, many of the rice millers in Nigeria imported paddy for processing. Today, the nation has been saved from issuing duty waivers. Today, we have paddy rice. Our farmers are smiling to the bank, and the tonnage that is being recorded has been going up in each of the cropping seasons, sometimes as much as 3 cropping seasons per annum. So combination of yield increases supported, like I said, by the federal government and the central bank initiative to make financing inputs available to farmers as and when due, have spurred the generation. Just before Christmas alone, 3 states joined Kebbi and Lagos in our popular lake rice by launching in Ogun Mitros rice, in Kogi Confluence rice, in Imo International rice, and other states that have done already, Jigawa, Kano, and a number of others.
Well, this is quite significant, where what you are indicating. Do we have a mapping of where we are seeing this boom in rice production across the country? Which of the areas have been most productive, and what are the factors that have accelerated this production?
That is one of the beautiful things about rice. It's almost a Nigerian commodity. 36 states of Nigeria produce rice, plus FCT. and these yield increases have been everywhere. What has happened before is that our farmers have not been using the right practices, have not been using the right seeds, do not have adequate inputs, because adequate input is a function of financing. A lot of them are still not there yet, because despite the achievements of the program, a number of farmers are yet to be covered. So it's across the country, and that is what is most energizing about this.
All right, thank you very much, Your Excellency. Let's get to the farmer said. Alhaji Goroyo, of course, this is a great feeling for you farmers. Now, what else has also given this boost for this quantum in this revolution we've witnessed in rice production recently?
Thank you. I think before, at the Ghana of KB made mention that before 2015, our yield per hectare was just 1 metric ton, maximum to 2.5 metric tons per hectare. But when the 2015, precisely November 17th, declaration in Kebbi State by the President Muhammadu Buhari, which was termed as Anko Borrower Program, that was the beginning of the beginning. That was the time when we farmers were able to access funds, good seeds, extension service, and so many support from the government.
Is this cutting across all the states of the Federation?
All
Not
the
some particular
states.
selected states?
All the states. Initially, it started in Kebbi from one state, but today we are in almost across the country. We are in all the 37 states, 36 and Abuja. So we are everywhere. The support cut across all over the country.
So what kind of definite support? Because we know, yes, you've just talked about the Anko borrowers, which we're going to meet with the CBN now, representative now, to talk about. What exactly were those inputs that were given down that were not received before that has led to this boost?
You know, before 2015, the farmer was left on his own. There was no coordination, no support, no anything from the government. But today, the same farmer is receiving a support. Under the Anko Borrower Program, you find all the key players, the input suppliers, the extension service or technical support officers, the funding. So virtually there is all the key players around the platform. And not only that, the market is ready around the market, around the farmer's farm, not even allow him to transport his goods to the market. He has market at the door of his farm. So that is why we are really progressing and making kind of progress.
All right. Thank you very much, Alhaji Goroyo. Let's bring in now Mr. Isaac Okorafor, the Acting Director of Corporate Communications Department of the Central Bank of Nigeria. Mr. Okorafor, I mean, the Anko Borrower Program has been obviously hailed as a catalyst for the revolution that we are seeing in rice production. Tell us some more about this program.
Well, thank you, Kingsley. The Anko Borrowers Program that we embarked upon 2 years ago, basically, came as a result of the situation the country found itself in with the collapse of oil price and acute shortage of foreign exchange. We looked at the content of foreign exchange utilization and discovered that rice and other foods took a large chunk of it. At a selfish level, we decided that something had to be done about it. First, we introduced the policy that said we would not sell foreign exchange to anybody importing rice, since Nigerians could produce rice. And then secondly, we had the will, the support of Mr. President to embark on any measure that we could bring in to solve this problem. And then thirdly, we met a governor and a state
that was willing and able and had the passion to get into rice production. And I'm talking about His Excellency Governor Atiku Bagudu and of Kebbi State. And so that was what led to our getting to Kebbi State to start the pilot program. And then the president graciously came in to stamp his authority and will and support of that program in 2015. And so for us, the Anchor Brewers program was done to achieve a few things. One of them was to produce enough food for Nigerians, thereby also helping us to manage instability in the macro environment caused by food scarcity and high food prices, to make sure that we do not continue to deplete our foreign exchange reserves because we were using the reserves to import rice from countries, and above all, to underscore our own philosophy today that the Central Bank of Nigeria will be a people-focused central bank. And how did we start this? We felt that the time was ripe for us to begin what we had abandoned in the past. That is a strategy that substituted imports with products made by Nigerians. And so that was part of an overall strategy to fill the gap created by our refusal, our decision not to sell foreign exchange to people who were importing food and rice and other foods, and not just rice and other foods, but other products that we felt could be produced in Nigeria.
The name on its own implies that you have a lender or lenders and you have borrowers. Tell us some more about that.
Yes.
The credit scheme or what?
Yeah, the Anchor Brewers program aims at making sure that the farmer who produces rice gets the best seedlings, gets the best kind of fertilizer, obtains the best kind of extension service, technical service, gets enough money to help him cultivate, plant, and harvest. And the same farmer needs to also have his harvest taken off from him by an anchor processor who will take it, if it, in the case of rice, to mill or to process it. And so it is a holistic program that not only gives the farmer the inputs, but also ensures that he has a guaranteed price at the end of the harvest and that he sells and goes back to farm again. Now, what we tried to do because of failures of the past was to ensure that every farmer who is taking part in this program is clearly enumerated with his biometrics, notably the bank verification number, tied to the spot that he calls his farm, such that if you stay on a satellite, you can easily identify the farmer's farm, and so nobody can come to impersonate the farmer. And so whatever money that is advanced to him is also tied to that piece of land. And there is monitoring to ensure that he actually planted, because our people were there, to ensure that he harvested and that the tonnage is there, and to ensure that this harvest is given to an anchor miller, whom we also fund to ensure that he is able to play his part very well. And so the entire chain in rice production is funded, is monitored, and we ensure that all parts of it is working.
When you say we, who are the managers of the program? I don't know what your staff strength is. And then how is this structured? Does each individual farmer, the Minister of Agriculture, you saw him in our background report saying that you have some 12.2 million persons who are involved in rice cultivation. So do you deal individually with 12 million persons?
Okay, our model, the model of, because we have two models now, the Anchor Borrowers program, the model with the state governments, has to do with approaching a state government that has passion and working with the state government to organize the farmers first. And then our people will go into living in with them to ensure that the farmers are identified clearly. And that is why the KB experience is very fantastic. The governor gave a personal commitment to the process. And he was with our people almost on a daily basis, getting to the farms, identifying, enumerating the whole thing, mapping them to their spots, to their farmlands, and ensuring that these farmers are organized in cooperatives. The role our people played was to ensure that, one, the enumeration was well done, that inputs were well distributed, because there had to be identity. The identity issue is very important. And our people also ensured that those who received the money applied it to the aspects of the project for which they were approved. And I keep going back to KB. The role of the state government is very key for this model to work. And the state government also ensures that every farmer that is taking part in that has land. That is very important.
All right, thank you very much, Mr. Okora. We want to know what other states are doing, because we know at the beginning of the year till last year, or in the 1.5 years of this program, so many states actually indicated interest, even pushed in some of their budgetary allocation, but as if it's not measuring up with what some of the states are bringing up. But let's get back to His Excellency, the Kebbi State Governor. Yes, sir, he's loaded so much what successes that Kebbi are taking on in terms of rice production. What exactly is setting the state apart beyond your own personal commitment now, seeing to it that farmers have come together in their closet? What other things were the impetus for what Kebbi has been able to achieve? Of course, we know of the Kebbi Lagos, that is Lake Rice. What other things were involved in actually pushing Kebbi atop?
I think first and foremost is the belief in the national leadership and the policy. Before, many people sometimes, they don't trust government policy. They think it will change mid-course. They had painful experiences in the past. So the belief that we have a national leadership who literally have a pact with Nigerians to do it right, and we are getting our act together. Both President Muhammadu Buhari and his able Vice President Yomi Osibajo think and act literally for the Nigerian farmer. So there is that belief in the policy is right. We are in no doubt that the national leadership will stay committed to the cause. And secondly, we are convinced of the competitiveness of Nigeria in rice, among other commodities. And so maybe we quickly embrace that, and like I said, and you acknowledge, Lagos State and Kebbi State quickly appreciated that this is a golden opportunity. We believed that both our states can share and lead this national quest. It's a good opportunity to produce, to show commitment to the Nigerian farmer, and it's good business. Because
you also chair, of course, the presidential task force on rice and wheat production. Yes. What other things would you want to see in other states? Yes, you've had the collaboration with Lagos State now. Some other states are trying to measure up in what you've done.
I think many other states have done well. I have been to Anambra, I have been to Ebonyi. Ebonyi have 3 mills now. Anambra has Stens Mill, Koscharis is coming up, and I have been to, together with the Central Bank, and I must say the Central Bank and Minister of Agriculture, Niger State. Okay. We have been to Jigawa, we have been to Kano, pretty much many places, and we intend to do more. And I must say that the response of the Nigerian farmer and the Nigerian processors is phenomenal. Today, even in spite of 3 or 4 quarters of recession, investment in agriculture, particularly rice, was going up. Last year alone, the Vice President commissioned a new mill in Kebbi, rice mill. Mr. President commissioned a new mill in Kano. new mills are coming in different states, and expansion to existing mills is going on. Many big companies are going into both milling and production.
Tell us some more about how you've been able to organize your state as a pilot for the takeoff of the Anchor Borrowers Program, especially against the background of some of the challenges that we have had in the past, that you had political farmers who accessed funds and then they didn't get to utilize the funds for the purposes they were meant. So what has been your trick or your secret, if you like, in organizing the farmers in your state and then getting the kind of produce you are getting from the CBN?
We were very clear-headed about it, that we want people to farm because we believe they can do so profitably. So in the design of the committee of Kebbi State Anchor Borrowers Committee, we even said, CBN, please chair this. We trusted the associations. We brought the Rice Farmers Association, CBN. We said, please lead this. And we are willing and we want to play any complementary role to test, to ascertain that we are registering farmers. We are organizing them as required because we believe in the capacity of our people to do it. And I think that is quite significant. So to the extent that we depart leadership to CBN and say we want it to be done right. But even then, there are challenges because some of the requirements of the Central Bank of Nigeria, biometric registration, can be a tedious process, especially for people who live in areas where data services are not adequate, and the turnaround time for registration of a farmer can be anywhere up to 3 days, because when you come and queue for 3 hours or stay for 3 hours and you want to go and tend to your farm, you go back and come back again. But I think we have learned from that. CBN has learned from that, and we have seen significant improvement in ability to register, map and measure and document farmers. Of course, there will be some mistakes, errors. Some countries took 20 years to go to where we got to in 2 years. So I must say that we must.
Very well. The National President of Rice Farmers Association, what stories are you hearing are you getting from members of your association from elsewhere in the country with regard to their access to the Anchor Borrowers Program?
Well, as I said earlier, that Anchor Borrowers started in Kebbi State, in one state, and today they are in 36 in Abuja states. So that means our farmers are fully and gainfully engaged in all the Anchor Borrower program. That is the information we are receiving at the center here. And not only that, you are aware that there are so many reports that farmers now are getting money, they are becoming millionaires and what have you. So those are the information that we are getting from farmers across the country.
What I wanted you to also speak to would be, is the experience uniform? I mean, the governor of Kebbi State has indicated some challenges, for instance, with regard to enumeration and what is being done, to clear some of those things. What is it that you are hearing? Is everything going well? Or everybody's going to sleep now that it's on autopilot?
Yeah, this country, as God designed it, we have north and south. And in the northern part of the country, we can grow rice 3 times in a year because we have long dry season period and we have short wet season. In the dry season, we have between 7 to 8 months where you can grow rice twice, and then you can grow rice once during the wet season. And also at the same time, in the southern part of the country, you have a long period of wet season ranging from 7 to 9 months where you can grow rice twice in the wet season, and short wet dry season where you can grow rice once during the dry season. So you can see the situation is favorable to virtually all our farmers wherever they are located. If you are in the south, you have a comparative advantage for you to grow rice 3 times a year. And if you are located in the northern part of the country, you also have comparative advantage to grow rice 3 times in a year.
In what way have you been able to support some of your other members, farmers across the country? My producer is giving me some hints about there's a body, WOFAN, women farmers, right. And they have actually met all the conditions, well, yet they're not getting the loan. Have you gotten reports like this, and how have you been able to stand in for such farmers?
Well, you know, in Rifan alone, we have 12.2 million rice farmers that are registered under the platform of Rifan. So even in our association, we could not even, you know, reach 2, 3, 4, 5%. Talk less of other people that are outside the platform. So this is a gradual process. The Anchor Borrower Program, all the support we are receiving is from the Anchor Borrower Program from the Central Bank of Nigeria. And you know we can't be everywhere at the same time. It has started somewhere, and it has been expanding, and God willing, in the next 1, 2 years, virtually everybody will be. But
for such great areas, is the CBN aware of some of these conditions that have been? Well, let's get Mr. Okorafor to attend to this same question. Yeah. WOFAN is the Women Farmers Association of Nigeria. The president said they have actually met all the conditions, but yet they can't get access to the loan.
Well, what I have to say to that is that the Central Bank of Nigeria is a woman-friendly central bank. We, of course, you can recall that our micro, small, and medium enterprise development fund has 60% of it reserved for women, because we have confidence in women. They pay back their debts when they borrow, and they're actually more reliable when it comes to being disciplined and, you know, going to farm to work than the men. I'm sorry to say that, but it's a fact. And so if they approach us as a group, we will be very glad to work with them. Already, you can see that we have moved from the state-modeled Anchor Borrowers Program to commodity associations. And either they come under the umbrella of Rifan, or they come under the umbrella of Women Rice Farmers Association. We'll be very glad. We'll be very glad to
all right.
I would like you, sorry, Blessing. Mr. Okorafor, I would like you to also speak to the experience that the central bank has monitored with regard to other states. Kebbi is your flagship, as it were. Yes. I know Ebonyi grows a lot of rice, but what is it that you are hearing from a couple of other states in terms of performance?
Yes, actually, it is positive generally. Of course, every state has its own peculiarities. Some states, it's the first thing that is required to succeed in the Anchor Brewers Program is to organize the farmers. You have to organize the farmers into very strong and disciplined cooperatives and associations. And of course, that underscored our success in Kebbi. We are operating in, we have given loans to farmers in about 31 states as we speak. And they may not be as many as they are in Kebbi, but they are working. It's very positive. We have a few challenges, of course. Like some farmers may want to, when the price of the paddy is more than the anchored price, they may want to sneak to go and sell it to make, but of course, close monitoring has been able to also take care of all that. Generally, there hasn't been any significant difficulty that cannot be tackled under the arrangement. It will take some time. Of course, it has taken Kebbi for 2 years, and so in the years coming, maybe later this year, you will see an increasing number of farmers enrolling on the program. Ebonyi is there, Anambra is there, like Governor Atiku Bagudu has said. We believe that by this year, by the end of this year, we expect that more and more farmers will enroll, that would go beyond the about 260,000 farmers that are on the program today. and cultivating about 300,000 hectares.
All right, stay with you, Mr. Okorafor. We know critical to sustaining this huge rice production is a place of structure, infrastructure, and some other kinds of modalities that will sustain this program. Because I wouldn't know how long the Anchor Barrels program is going to be before the farmers or ultimately the country stands on its own. Now, what other structure would you want to see in place across states to actually get us to that level of self-sufficiency so that importation of bills will practically be non-existent before we get into the aspect of even smuggling that we heard in some of the papers this morning? What kind of structure are we putting in place to actually have a self-sustaining system?
Well, you know, our efforts at the Central Bank of Nigeria, our efforts are limited. We can only prod the state governors and state governments and commodity associations to put in place a few things. Of course, those things must be met before we even go in. What is needed at this time, the first thing that is needed is to ensure that the farmers are organized into very strong and disciplined groups. The second one is to ensure that routes to the farms are provided so that the farmers can move into their farms with their inputs and leave with their harvest. That's another thing. Of course, we are also putting together with the state governments, extension services. That is very key, and it has to be monitored. We also have put together a system that ensures that the inputs are about the best you can get across the world for our soil. So once you are able to provide roads, you are providing strong organizations, you are providing the right inputs and the right technical advice to farmers. Nigerian farmers can, I am telling you, Nigerian farmers can be exporting rice to China.
All right, Isaac Okorafor, thank you very much. And gentlemen, it's still Good Morning Nigeria. We'll take a short break. When we return, we'll continue with the conversation.
Welcome back. If you just joined us, we're still on our discussion, taking a look at the rice revolution in the country. How self-sufficient are we and where are we going? We still have a guest seated. We still have Executive Governor of Kebbi State and a Chair Presidential Task Force on Rice and Wheat Production. We also have still in the studio, Acting Director, Communication, Mr. Isaac Okorafor, and President, National Rice Farmers Association of Nigeria, Alhaji Goroyo. Okay, let's get back to His Excellency, the Executive Governor. We still want to take a look at some other structure in place. You talked earlier about milling and also other forms of processors still available. Now, across the states, do we have this in the various number to actually assist what the farmers, the communities that have been turned millionaire overnight? Mm-hmm. Let's share such further experience with you.
The increase in investment recorded in the last 18 months on processing capacity is encouraging to show that the rate of growth of processing is almost pari passu with the rate of growth of production. So that is very, very significant because new mills have come up in different states in the last 1.5 years, and expansion and small-scale processing is going on. Is also being expanded. Okay. Rice in many states used to be processed almost exclusively by women, and many states have recognized the importance, in fact, the imperative of buying small-scale rice mills to make sure the women processors are not displaced by the large-scale processors. So processing capacity is going on significantly, and that is providing a great impetus. And no miller I know of is complaining about ability to find paddy. And I don't know of any state that have not been able to sell a significant production of their paddy. The federal government has been participating actively. There is no meeting of the National Economic Council where the these issues have not been given prominence. The Vice President, President Yemi Osibajo, had incorporated both the RIPAN and Wheat Farmers Association as members of the task force. He's always meeting with us. The Ministry of Finance is involved to see and to always calibrate what more can be done.
I'm sorry. Let's crunch the figures that we're looking at in terms of production and then impact. What is it that you are seeing with rice farmers in Kebbi State? Are their smiles getting broader? And if so, is your IGR also improving?
Their smiles is getting broader. I think everyone will.
Smile is broader.
And certainly, because in terms, we have, like I said, the first significant element is the quantum leap in yield per hectare. Because somebody who is accustomed to producing 1 ton per hectare in his farm is now producing 7, 8 tons per hectare. So that tells you, and the price, because of the commitment of the national government to ensure that Nigerian market gets the, is supported competitively. We are not even causing distortion. We are not talking about subsidy to prevent us from the economic agents of other countries who are bent on distorting our markets, destroying our price. The market, the farmers are getting a better price. The Nigerian people are getting wiser that, look, what are we doing to ourselves? Nigerian rice is actually better than imported rice. And it's cheaper and it's healthier. So this is providing all people involved in the value chain with higher incomes than they used to make. Are we making any more? Yes, our tax base has expanded significantly. But remember, this is the second year of the program. For our state, we want to get people to get richer. And the taxman will come one day.
All right, thank you very much. We have other questions for you, but let's pause here in the meantime, Mr. Governor. Let's bring in again the president of RIFAN. In terms, for instance, of your members, what is it, again, you were seeing amongst them with regard to the returns that they are getting? Are they happy? That's the key question. And would they be willing to keep on cultivating? Because we have had guests on this program sometimes talk about abandonment of certain crops on account of unfavorable conditions.
Well, you know, before 2015, precisely 2014, our membership drive was just 4.2 million farmers. But today, because of what those 4.3, 4.5 are getting, our membership drive today is 12.2 million farmers. That clearly shows that what our farmers are getting is really very interesting and very favorable to them. And that is why so many other farmers that are outside the platform are trooping almost every morning to be part of the association. As I'm talking
since you're talking about comparative figures, for 2015, what was the price of a bag of 50 kg of rice? Today, today the price is about, sorry, Blessing, you let us know what the price of...
no, you just bought, so
no, I didn't buy recently. All right, so
okay.
Yes.
Because in 2015, I went to Mr. President and the governor of the central bank and said, my farmers cannot find anybody to buy their paddy at 3,800 naira, and it's dropping per ton. And he was shocked that importers have been coming to say to him that they need more licenses to import. I said, well, bring them to me. Let us go to Kebbi, provide security so that we establish who's, whether it is the farmers or the importers who are being truthful. And Lord, I behold, a big delegation went to Nigeria, it went to Kebbi with journalists, and they established that paddy was available at 3,800 then per ton. Today, paddy price is anywhere between 9,000 per ton to about 120,000, 30,000 naira per ton. In terms of price per bag is a reflection of two things, because inputs are priced. Most of the inputs, fertilizer, even though the presidential fertilizer initiative had brought down fertilizer and available at 5,500, water pumps are still imported. So some of the inputs that go into rice production are imported. And definitely with the exchange rate moving from about 160 naira to $1 to 305, some of that pricing exchange rate risk goes into the pricing. But compared to other commodities, rice have done well, because there are commodities that have doubled in price, especially imported items, or have gone up almost triple. But rice is still maybe 40–50% higher than it was pre-2000.
Listen, I'm just wondering that the government is talking now about what we are saying with regard to the cost factors and the price by bag. Ultimately, now, but for economic agents who are willing and ready to dump whatever commodities they have on the country via smuggling, this might be an incentive. I'm just wondering, Mr. Okorafor, is there a synergy with the between the monetary and fiscal authorities on how to curtail significantly the instances of smuggling? Because the editorial that we read this morning from The Independent, the NSA, that's the National Security Advisor, was saying that some 90 ships or so had offloaded their cargoes. These are cargoes of rice. What is the population of neighboring countries that they will be needing 90 cargoes of rice?
Yes, this is a challenge that has engaged, that has dominated discussion between my governor, Mr. Godwin Emefiele, and the Honorable Minister of Agriculture, including Governor it's a challenge that we face.
All right, Mr. Okorafor, sorry, we understand there's some challenge with your audio, where I'm sure the engineers are trying to clear that. I'm not quite sure what the snag is, but we'll come back to you to deal with the issue of aligning the monetary and fiscal policies to ensure that there is no distortion arising from smuggling. But let's return to the governor of Kebbi State. In terms of structures, again, experts say that two main sources of shall I say, water for agriculture: rain-fed or irrigation, the dams. What we are doing now, 2 years, we have seen the results. How sustainable is all of this when, for instance, we are not quite certain of sources of water supply by way of irrigation, or if there is drought in some parts of the country?
I think it's quite an interesting question, because in spite of the challenges we have achieved this success. So it shows that the more we invest, the more able we are to compete globally. And our dream is to have Nigerian rice selling in Japan, which is one of the most protected rice markets in the world, in China, in Thailand, in UK, in Europe, everywhere, because we are competitive. And we are encouraged by the amount of investment that is going, even though very small. But we in the agricultural value chain are seeing a future where investments in agriculture should begin to rival that of investment in oil and gas. Last year, which was one of our most difficult years, the cash call, i.e. the Federation contribution to finding oil and producing it, is about $7 to $8 billion. Comparable to agriculture, the anchor borrowers, as successful as it is, and we thank God for the central bank and Mr. President and the Vice President. But yet, it's about $200 million, $300 million.
I understand that. Actually, what I'm driving at is we've had farmers complain, for instance, about the siltation of various dams across the country. If reliance has to be placed on agriculture, on irrigation, and new canals are not being built, are we also working apace on these other critical structures for the boom in rice production? That's my question.
Yeah.
Yes.
Investment has been going on in all directions, both by the state and federal government, and all the irrigation plans, water development schemes are being proposed and are actually being worked on in order to boost the availability of water and make it cheaper. For example, in Kebbi, we have invested significantly in pump-based irrigation scheme. But we have seen proposal from the federal government, Federal Ministry of Water, that will help us wean our farmers from pump-based to gravity-fed. In many states, they already have gravity-driven water resources. In the southern part, it's more the challenge of land clearing, and the federal government is dealing. So it is unlocking the water potential, because the model, the Ankoboroa model, and the federal government have recognized the necessity of investing in both land clearing to make the water available to the farms.
All right, thank you.
Addition, sir, on the issue of this silting of reservoirs around the country, our association is in close collaboration with the Federal Ministry of Water Resources to see that, number one, those dams are desilted, and number two, more and small irrigation dams are being constructed.
All right. Thank you very much. Mr. Isaac Okorafor, yeah, we understand that the battery of your phone, of your microphone was weak. It's been replaced now, so if we can hear you quite clearly. Please speak again to the alignment of monetary and fiscal policy measures to ensure that the revolution is sustained.
Yes, like I said, my governor has been discussing with the Honorable Minister of Agriculture on this matter. And we believe also that our customs authorities have to do something about it. It is very, not just for rice, but even for petroleum products. So it is a challenge that we believe that the federal government is looking into. We also see that the price of locally produced rice has not come as low as we expect, but that phenomenon is normal and it is good, because as the price remains at where it is, more farmers will be going in there to reap the profit. And by so doing, we expand our national output and begin to export our rice. It is important to control smuggling of rice. And the worst is that this rice that they're smuggling is 7-year-old, 9, 10-year-old rice, and it is not fit for our people, and something has to be done about it.
I'm wondering, still with you, what is the extent of the commitment of the central bank to the Anchor Borrowers Program? Is there a time delimited for the program? And I would like you also to take this question along with that. What happens to the Bank of Agriculture? And then what happens to the various commercial banks who over the years had often received directives from the central bank with regard to lending to the agricultural subsector?
Well, our participation in the Anchor Borrowers Program is an interventionist strategy. We are not going to remain there forever. The Bank of Agriculture, of course, we also collaborate with Bank of Agriculture in this Anchor Borrowers Program, including even the National Agri-Insurance Corporation. It is not our full remit to be out there funding agriculture, but the circumstances of our country has necessitated that at this time. In the coming years, I expect that we'll begin to roll back and then hand it over to some of the vehicles that we are already establishing. We already have the NISAL, the incentive-based risk sharing system for agricultural lending. Part of that will go there. And we expect that after a while, when we feel that, look, this thing has gone around the country and people have killed into it, and then we'll pull back to concentrate on our very traditional roles.
But what has been the experience with loan repayments? So you could actually have a sustainability of this project.
Yeah, it has been very good. Loan repayment has been very good. And of course, I'm not saying it is 100%, but as we go, the farmers, because of the closed nature of the arrangement, the farmers are monitored. So, and of course, you bring back, you take again for the next season. I think we are satisfied with the level of loan repayment.
So what percentage? Let's push.
It's not less than 70%.
What is the quantum of the credits that we're talking about?
We have so far, as we speak, we have so far put in about 54 billion naira into the Anchor Borrowers program. And we are happy that given the kind of impact it has had on our national economy, it is money well spent.
Is there a ceiling on any individual borrower or group of borrowers?
No, it actually depends on the circumstances. What we try to do is to give a certain amount of money per hectare, depending on the state and the kind of soil. But what we do in the structure of the loan, only a portion of it, say if it is a 250,000 naira loan per farmer per hectare, it is only maybe about 70,000 cash that is given to the farmer. The rest are given by way of the best seedlings that you can get, the best extension service, the best agrochemicals. That's what we do. So that it's not just you hand over cash and the person goes to marry another wife.
All right.
And if I may add on loan repayment, I think that is a part of what we also appeal, because in our national consciousness, we have to understand and appreciate that for decades, agriculture has been judged poorly in terms of its risk. And that is why maybe understandably bankers, commercial bankers have not done a lot of agricultural lending. But in 2010, when Nigeria created the Asset Management Company of Nigeria, AMCON, to take over bad loans from the commercial banking sector, which cost Nigerian state, or is costing the Nigerian state about 4 trillion naira. Yeah. The evidence and reports do not suggest any significant agricultural lending in that bad loans. So what the Anchor Borrowers scheme, for example, and the commercial agricultural scheme, and the total lending to the agricultural sector by the Nigerian banking system, all combined together is less than 100 billion naira per annum, and that is very small compared to our size, compared to the scale, compared to our objective. And the accounting and the thought process in which the Nigerian farmer has been approached or has been related with by the commercial banking sector has made him uncompetitive. You give the Nigerian farmer a tractor, which if you have given it to flour mills or Dangote, a big company, accounting, he's allowed to expend it over a period of 6 years. You give it to a Nigerian farmer, you want him to pay in a year. So you are not putting the farmer in the same competitive basket as what is otherwise available to corporate Nigeria. So those are the kind of systematic issues that are being recognized, and like I said, the national leadership is helping us address so that our farmers and small-scale participants can be competitive.
Your Excellencies, gentlemen, we have reactions from Nigerians already. We'll run through them and we'll continue with the rest set of questions. From Festus Akimboyewa is this tweet: we must take electricity and health facilities to our farmers and make our rice farmers heroes so that they can be encouraged to sustain the increase we're seeing in rice production.
We have another tweet from Victor Uhioswama. It says the federal government has done well in rice production. Importation has been drastically reduced, thereby saving scarce foreign exchange. However, more needs to be done for finally to be self-sufficient and also for export.
Ode Samuel has the street. The Nigerian rice producers are still facing challenges of poor rice seeds for planting.
Ibrahim Tudu says to carry the revolution forward, state governments must join the farming culture in the wetlands and Fadama. Too much land is wasted and cultivated because of low farmers' capacity.
From Sani Michael Omakoji is the suite. Mr. Governor, thank you for what you're doing in Kebbi State for agriculture to succeed. But how have you been able to bring in those farmers who are in typical villages where there are no network to use phones since you are using biometrics?
All right. This is some of the tweets that we have.
There's also another reaction from one of our guests on one of the edition of this program. The success of the program not anchored on the personal commitment that is from the governor. Definitely, there are gray areas. How do you hope to sustain this beyond your tenure, at least to get that commitment of farmers to actually do that? Because it is needed for the country to move forward in terms of agriculture.
I think we just provided leadership. And what has been demonstrated is that Nigerians can do it. The Nigerian people can do it. Today, the Nigerian people believe in Nigerian rice. Today, this experiment have given confidence to the Nigerians that if we decide we can do something, we'll do it. So I can see this being, certainly this is going to be sustained beyond Abubakar Bagudu or Ambode or President Buhari. I think it's here to stay. And Nigeria will be and will remain a competitive rice producer that will be selling rice to the world.
What is the likely impact of ongoing security concerns between certain categories of agricultural production persons?
I think let us appreciate that the agricultural sector involves distinct activities. Fishermen, pastoralists, and farmers. And occasionally, because the land is limited, or rather is fixed, land supply is fixed. Occasionally and historically, in all countries that have these three groups, there are conflicts, occasional conflicts. It's happening in Kebbi. The fisherman is not having access to as much river resources as he used to have. We have to deal with that. We have to encourage them to migrate to being fish farmers, where they have a fund and use better tools and achieve more productivity. The animal husbandry, pastoralists, we have to encourage them to settle and invest in them. Because in order for them to settle, you have to provide them water. You have to provide water, help them with feed. And they desire that, and they want that. And then the synergy that they used to have with the farmer has broken down because of the modernization of farming. Because what do you have, for example, in a typical state like Kebbi, you have before an arrangement where the farmer himself will invite the herdsman onto his farm, so that he will manure the farm for him. And it's a very good relationship. Among one of the most established relationships historically in this country that has led to sociologists have documented this, institutionalized joking relationship. One of the most established is between the TB and Fulani man. Because that the TB will be very happy for a Fulani man to come to his farmland and manure. But today, the land pressure has led to a breakdown in that relationship everywhere. So we have to do things differently. We have to do things better. So what can solve this is to bring more investment that will will address the needs of all the three groups: farmers, fishermen, and herdsmen. Each one of them can do better with his land so that he achieve more yield, and they can share and relate with each other. Everyone partaking in an important. Today, we import most of our milk. And if we recognize that this is an industry where we should be the ones exporting milk. Today we import fish. Our fishermen in all the states are struggling in one way or the other, in one conflict in one way or the other. The Ijoman, who is used to freshwater fishing, is no longer having some of his fish, some of his rivers are clogged by weed because of oil producing. So we have to recognize it and invest in them and help them, just like we need to recognize the challenges being faced by those in animal.
All right, Mr. Governor, thank you very much. Let's bring in again Mr. Okorafor of the Central Bank. Mr. Okorafor, well, again, with the involvement of the CBN in the program, what are you looking at with regard to marketing and insurance? Because farm gate, the farmers can sell their harvest at the farm gate to anchor millers. They go away, and you're not going to be on this program for a long time. Now, insurance is, for what it is insurance. You never know what's going to happen. If there's some catastrophic occurrence, what do you do? So what is the CBN thinking about in terms of marketing, sustained marketing and insurance? We'll be hearing about getting the marketing boards back and so on and so forth.
Well, it's a whole lot of interconnected issues. At the farm level, we are working with the Nigerian Agri Insurance Corporation to ensure that the farmers get insured, such that even if there is any disaster like flooding or anything, the farmer will return to his farm the next season, almost effortlessly. That is one thing we are trying to do. Of course, the fact that there is an anchor processor, anchor miller, is also a form of insurance against price movements. That is that. As for we're also working to ensure that the farmer is able to use his stock, his paddy in the warehouse, as collateral to borrow money to do some other, to expand his business or do some other business or other things. That will also involve the Abuja Commodities Exchange, and we are all working. We are working with the Federal Ministry of Agriculture and other stakeholders to ensure that there is a sustained a framework that will make this whole arrangement very sustainable. And we believe that once all these things are put in place, the whole system will go on autopilot.
But what other areas will you want to see in the value chain, the entire value chain? Where would you want more push to actually have that area of revolution we want?
Yeah, I think we need some storage. The farmers need quite some storage, warehousing facilities, including refrigerated warehousing. Those are areas that investment can be made to make sure that whatever commodities they keep there are sustained and that they remain, their value and quality remain
so is the anchor program looking into this?
Yeah. And we are ready to also fund that aspect of the business. Okay. Because the Anchor Borrowers program it funds the entire chain in agriculture.
I would like the governor to respond to this. There is a 100,000 metric ton silo on the outskirts of Birnin Kebbi. Is it functional? And are your farmers taking advantage of that?
No, it's owned by the federal government, and it has been in the process of being concession. And we have been participating because it's an important, and for the record, there are about 11 of them across Nigeria. And we have but the concessioning program has not been completed. But we have been working with the Federal Ministry of Agriculture to see that whoever emerges the winner will be able to work with so that we can take advantage.
All right, Mr. Okorafor, I'm sure you heard that. There's some 11 silos. I think the giant one, of course, you have, yes, you have in Birnin Kebbi, and there's one also on the outskirts of Abuja here. But let's take some further reactions now from our viewers. We have a lot of tweets. Some of them we've been scrolling on the screen. This one is coming from a guest, a viewer whose handle is simple. It says that when they, that's to say the farmers now, overproduce, they get stuck with their produce after encouraging them to produce more. No agency to control price. Moreover, the loan is elusive to farmers. It is still the portfolio farmers getting the loans. Let them show evidence of the farmers that access the loans.
This tweet is from Change to Progress. It's been a great experience. Let them continue along this path, and results will definitely be good for Nigeria. I've been eating Eboyin rice in Port Harcourt since July 2017. They need to find a way to reduce price of local rice dough, and it is still 18,000 naira for the 50 kg bag in Port Harcourt.
Tayo Akinade tweet says, kudos to the governor of Kebbi State on his initiative on rice production. However, the federal government needs to establish research centers to work on how to improve seedlings, which will in turn increase yield per hectare. Production is one thing, sustainability is paramount. There is a serious research center in Niger,
exactly.
An institute actually, that's in Niger State, Badegi or somewhere, yes.
Ibrahim to the tweet, the Central Bank of Nigeria should check the Anchor Borrowers Program. So many associations are not covered. The program can be made more useful when effectively monitored.
Amobala Humbab's tweet says, with the federal government advocacy on back to the farm, in no time Nigeria will be self-sufficient in food production. I know of thousands of young persons who hitherto had looked for white-collar jobs but couldn't get any. Now they are making fortunes from rice farming. So those are the set of tweets that we have this time. Let's very quickly again bring in Alhaji Aminu Goroyo, that's the president of Rice Farmers Association. Tell us something about what rice farmers are experiencing, because in terms of wheat, and it's a topic that we have also discussed on Good Morning Nigeria, there was at some point some dissonance in terms of the agreed price that the off-takers were going to pay and what the farmers were willing to take and therefore get to the farm. So there appeared to have been a shortfall at some point. What is it that will most likely create some, shall we say, market disagreement between rice farmers and then the anchor millers or whoever the millers are?
Well, that disagreement was at the initial stage of the Anchor Borrower Program. But now, as I'm talking to you, there is a very good understanding between the farmers and millers, and that issue has been completely, solved.
What more would you like to see going forward?
Well, going forward, I would like, number one, to tell Nigerians that the CBN, in collaboration with the association, has decided to come up with a pilot that is going to be private driven Anchor Borrower Program, so that by the time, as you ask His Excellency, that what plan does he have after his tenure, considering all the support he has been giving to this program up to this level. So that private sector driven Anchor Borrower Program, which is a collaboration between Central Bank and Refund, our farmers are being mapped. As I'm talking to you now, about 150,000 farmers who are mapped. Wherever you are from the world, you can have access to those farmers, and you can have access to their farm holdings. You can have access to virtually their biometric and everything. So I will tell the Nigerians that in the next 2-3 years, this issue of rice production in particular, where is my sector, is going to be a sustainable, self-sustainable business that may not even require this kind of tussles and what have you.
Okay, thank you very much. Mr. Governor, let's bring you in again. Then the CBN Acting Director of Corporate Communications did talk about the range of services encapsulated in the, or embedded in the Anchor Borrower Program. One of them you mentioned is extension services. What has your state done differently with regard to extension services? Because it's perhaps an open secret that a number of state ministries of agriculture have virtually abandoned extension services, and until the advent of the Empower program, where persons were specifically recruited by the federal government to engage in extension services, that aspect had been neglected. What is it that you've done differently?
I think the recognition that, as I said earlier, that agriculture is a science, and that makes the extension worker important to impact the new and changing skills to farmers and those engaged in the agricultural value chain. So we mobilize more extension workers. We train them. We help them locate in places close to the clusters, where for each cluster there is an extension or extension workers available, equipped with modern knowledge to help them.
In terms of what we are value chain now, we're talking about production, the millers. What more would you like to see, or what more should Nigerians look forward to with regard to the value chain? Who are those rice, of course, is not just merely edible. You have rice for all kinds of uses, for sweeteners, for syrup, even in the cosmetic industry. What more would you like to see in terms of growing the value chain for rice in Nigeria?
I would like to see more Nigerians putting pressure on our financial sector to fund our priorities, because it's profitable, and the more investment we have, the more rice. We believe that rice can even produce a significant part of our foreign exchange if investment is sustained in the sector, so that we can.
Okay, thank you very much. The last set of tweets, Your Excellency, gentlemen. The farmers, this is from Don Harun. The farmers are getting more of what they had, and also thanking the federal government for this kind of support.
This one is from a Twitter handle, Citizen. It says, I am now consuming with pride our locally produced rice, which I believe has better taste than the imported one. Kudos to the federal government rice production program.
Kano Friday Ogman says, something is wrong in Nigeria. This is because when Nigeria was the highest importer of rice in 2013, 2014, we bought rice at 7,000 to 7,300 naira. But now we buy 16,500 naira as one of the highest rice producers. Why?
All right, Babatunde Aluko tweets. It says, smuggling of rice may not stop. Now, continued improvement in the quality and sustained marketing of local rice would ultimately sway consumers.
Ibrahim Caleb Shawulu says, we, the people of Bauchi State, have a wrong treatment. We were given 25,000 naira, 1 pump, 2 fertilizers, and 25 kg seedlings. And it was given to us late. Please look into it properly. Thank you very much.
All right, so those are the last set of tweets that we took.
Before Christmas, the federal government, in association, in conjunction with the millers, set up a program in order to ensure that rice costs no longer than 15,000. And in many places, it came down to as little as low as 12,800. And the program, federal government is sustaining the interaction in order to ensure that rice is available at no more than 12,000 naira.
Tell us something again about the Lake Rice. That's the collaboration between Lagos and Kebbi states.
Yes.
Because the Lagos state government advertised rice for, say, around about 10,000 at Christmas.
Yeah.
Yes, but tell us, how is that working out?
It's working out well, because what we are early believers in this, and we felt that if we invest, we can deliver rice at prices that are affordable by Nigerians on a sustainable basis. And that's what we have done with Lake Rice. And like I said earlier, we are glad others are joining in.
How is it working? I mean, of course, you also have wetlands in Lagos. Of course, is a coastal state. Do you have wetlands there? Is Lagos producing, or Lagos is merely milling?
Lagos is part of the production. Lagos is part of the milling. Lagos is part of the marketing, as indeed Kebbi is. It's a partnership.
All right, Chairman, Presidential Task Force on Rice and Wheat Production, the Executive Governor of Kebbi State, Alhaji Abubakar Atiku Bagudu. Thank you very much for joining us on the program. We would also like to appreciate Acting Director, Corporate Communications Department, Central Bank of Nigeria, Sir Isaac Okorafo. It was a pleasure having you on the program.
Thank you.
And we also like to thank the National President of the Rice Farmers Association of Nigeria, RIFAN, Alhaji Aminu Goroyo. It was a great delight talking with you.
All right, so that does it for our discussion segment. Let's go over now to sports. Happy news, of course, that Nigeria will face Morocco in the final of the CHAN Championship taking place in Morocco. Nigeria beat Sudan last night by a lone goal.
Thank you very much, Paul Luba. Well, that does it for the program today. It is the first day of the month, but certainly tomorrow is the last one for the edition of the week. We hope to see you then. My name is Blessing Abu. Thank you for watching.
All right, thanks also. Wherever the day takes you, remember it begins with us on Good Morning Nigeria. Thank you. See you tomorrow. I'm Kingsley Osadolo.